Analyzing an investment property. I just got off the phone call with a prospective seller I'm hoping to close another deal on, and this is how I came up with my numbers. With that being said, let's dive into it.
Welcome to the Smack Fest, the beat down. The SWAT team is here on another beautiful day of shutting the week down.
What's going on, guys? My name is Dauria. If we're meeting for the very first time, consider subscribing, liking to the channel because I make videos on real estate investing for passive income. This is a way you can quit your 9-to-5 and live on what they call mailbox money. I did so at age 32, and I want you to be able to do so as well. So when looking at an investment property, I basically walk through the property and I start by the outside of the property. So on this particular house, the outside isn't in bad shape. This is what I want to call the grandma and grandpa house. Now this is a little bit of the neighborhood kind of showing out. It's very clean, it's very well kept, but I'll always start with the outside. And I'll tell you why I start with the outside. It's because this. When you walk the outside of the perimeter first, you're looking at several things, okay? One, you're going to look at the exterior brick of the home, okay? And you're going to look for cracks that look like stairs, okay? And if you see that on a particular wall, you're gonna make a mental note of that so when you go inside, you can pay special attention to that wall and make sure there's no problems on the inside like they're showing on the outside. Also be sure to ask the homeowner if there has been any previous foundation work, because I thought there had been on this house only because of the amount of foundation work needed just in the front. I said, has there been foundation work in the last 10 years or so? And they said yes, and I was expecting them to say yes, because here's the deal. When you sit on a bad foundation, you can fix it, but you're not fixing the soil that's already on it. So basically, you can fix it, and then over time, 10 years, give or take, it'll move again. And then you'll fix it, and then it'll move again. So just keep that in mind when you think that foundation repairs are permanent fixes, because they are not always permanent fixes. So moving on. So you walk the exterior of the property. Here's a picture of the outside exterior part, and this is the part that I walked first. So as you can see, I walked down this driveway right here, and I was looking at the brick wall. It actually looked in good shape. So I walked around back, and I'm looking at the roof. I asked him about the roof, and it was replaced in the last hailstorm. We have hail like you wouldn't believe here in North Texas. We literally had hail like 5 years ago. The size, I'm not kidding, the size, somebody found one the size of a football, like an NFL football, behind the police station. So look it up. It was a Wiley, Texas hailstorm. There's holes in roofs that you can put your foot in. I'm not even kidding, guys. Okay, so I'll walk around the property. Oh, what did I find on the other side? So the exterior actually looked decent. I didn't see a lot of large cracks in any walls. However, I did walk across an AC that had looked like it had possibly been pulled out of the junkyard. It was so sun-faded and well peppered with hail from the last hailstorm about 5 or 6 years ago. So I knew right off the bat, okay, we're at 6 years old minus what? So I looked on the back corner, and on the very top on the back corner, made in 1997. And I was doing quick math, and I said, well, considering we're in the current year that we are, minus 1997, I came up with the fact that this AC has been around since I was in grade school. So the chances of this not only working aren't that great, and if it does work, it's not going to be reliable. So as a real estate investor, if I have an AC that was made in 1997, I'm going to budget to replace it. In this case, with the tonnage that it was, I think it was a 5-ton, I went ahead and I budgeted $6,000 to have this AC replaced. So walking around the front, I'll go ahead and walk into the property. I open the door, and as soon as I walk in, what do I feel? I feel a really hard dip right in the front, and then it eased back up, and so I noticed that there was some foundation work that needed to be done on the inside, at least on the front. So what I did was this, and when I was a brand new real estate investor, I walked around with a ping pong ball, right? And I would like set it on the corner, and I would see if it moved, and I would set it over here. Here's the thing. Not all foundations are perfectly level. Even brand new builds aren't always perfectly level where the ball's not going to move. So I quickly did away with that, because really all that matters when it comes to foundation is you walking the corners, like you physically going to walk in the corners, walk in the middle, walk around. if you feel drunk at all, if you feel any movement, that's really all that matters to somebody that's buying the house or renting the house. They don't care if they don't feel it, because if they don't feel it, it's not bad enough for them to care. Kind of get where I'm going? So I walked the front corner, right? The front corner on the left side felt okay. I get into the other side, I basically felt like I was falling into the wall. So I know that at least on that side of the front of the property, it's getting particularly bad in just that area. And then from there, I'm going to walk onto the other side towards the back of the house, right? And I walk from corner to corner to corner in the middle. Everything felt good. And I looked through some of the bathrooms. I looked, in the bedrooms. I'm looking at this when I go in, okay? I'm looking at, what does the ceiling look like? Do I have popcorn? Does it need to be scraped? What are my comps? What are they renting for in this condition? What are they renting for when they're renovated? To see what makes more sense. Because yeah, you might be able to get $2,000 a month if you put $30,000 into it. But if you get $1,850 without putting anything into it, your ROI is better by just leaving it. Plus, you don't have to mess with the hassle of messing with it. Besides the foundation, I always recommend doing any foundation movements that are, extreme to the point where furniture would be weird on it. I always recommend doing that because you want to stabilize the property if anything. And if there is an issue, you want to keep them from getting worse, because if they do get worse, they could bust your plumbing, and then we're talking about crazy repairs. So basically, when I walk through the house, I noticed that this entire house, inside, outside, mainly on the inside, is super clean. It's just really outdated from like 85 basically, right? Like nothing was changed. Maybe 1980, okay? Like nothing was changed, but it's all clean. Like even like the countertops are those real cheap apartment plasticky countertops from Malca or whatever they call those, right? They're not even scratched, right? All those have like dice marks on them by now. You know what I mean? Like they were in really, really good shape. So everything across the board is in good shape. It's just really, really old. So here is the math formula to determine my repair costs and how I negotiated this particular buy with these sellers. So when budgeting light renovations, I typically budget $10 a square foot. When budgeting medium style renovations, this could include taking down some walls, for instance, I budget $20 a square foot. And when walking in to a trap house that I have bought in the past, I budget $30 a square foot. Just remember this, when I'm budgeting these, I'm budgeting them to bring them up to rental grade standards, not necessarily HGTV standards, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm not going to put the most high-end countertops. I might even leave those countertops. Matter of fact, I probably will. But I'll go ahead and put some stainless steel appliances, and everything that you touch will be nice and new. The countertops are in good shape. They're not nice, but they're not in bad shape. So I'll probably leave them. From a rental property point of view, people are looking at what's the cost per month typically, not this one has quartz, this one doesn't. They're mainly going to look at, is this a nice school district? Is this a nice neighborhood? Will this house square footage and bedroom count and garage count for most guys work for us? And in that case, that's the people who I'm playing to, because that is majority of my audience and that is really my clientele that I'm focusing on. Now, if I was a flipper, I would definitely be on the higher side of quartz countertops, maybe marble countertops, stainless steel appliances. Definitely scrape off the popcorn ceilings in the top. I might even do that nice thick, that 4-inch, 5-inch crown molding on the very top all the way around. It looks stellar on a property, and it doesn't cost as much as one might think, but it really, really pops when you walk in and see that. I've got a rental property actually down the road that I have that really nice crown molding. In 3 years of renting this property, it has been on the market for less than a total of 3 weeks. And most of those times were just them to get in the office and sign the paperwork for what we already agreed on. So making a house really nice can definitely help get it rented, but doing it too much isn't going to keep pushing the comps higher and higher. You're going to get to a point where your ROI, your return on investment, doesn't make much sense if you go too far, okay? And you also have to look at the neighborhood. What are most houses in that neighborhood look like on the inside, and what do renters expect them to look like when they walk in? That's another one. If they walk in, it looks like $1 million house, but on the outside it looks like a $150,000 house. it's kind of a weird comp. But when they walk in and they're seeing what they expect to see from the outside on the inside, they're not going to be disappointed, guys. And they're already there because of the price in the first place. So as long as they don't leave disappointed, they're still interested in the property. So the negotiation, this is how it went. Oh, and by the way, this was an off-market property. It was actually buying a PlayStation console for my son. It was right down the street, and they said, hey, you want to come in and grab everything? There was a bunch of bags and games and all that stuff. I'm grabbing it, and I'm looking around because I'm a real estate investor, and I'm like, there is no furniture in this house. I was hoping I wouldn't insult them, and for a second I thought I did. When I was like, so are you guys moving in or moving out? And they looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like, maybe they just live with no furniture. And they were like, well, my mother just passed away. Okay, I see what we're doing here now. And we're just moving stuff out. We're taking our time. So the motivation factor wasn't necessarily right then, because I asked her, I said, well, what would you want for the property? Have you thought about that? She goes, I haven't even given it any thought at all. You know, we're not in any hurry moving it out. I might sell in it about a month or so, or, you know, so the motivation wasn't there yet. But I let them know that, hey, I am a real estate investor. I do buy for cash, and I do also pay closing costs. I want to offer you a fair offer, and I want to support that with comps as well that I can show you. So obviously they were interested in me talking with them, and just the next day I came up with some comps, and I called her back, and this is how it went. Hey Susie, it's me, William. Hey, thanks for taking the time with me the other day. I really enjoyed talking with you and your husband, and I'm very, very sad for your loss in the family. And she'll say, you know, what she says. And I'll say, you know, I did some comps on the property, you know, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this neighborhood. They're typically renting for, you know, about $1,680 in the neighborhood. And that neighborhood in particular isn't bringing as much money because every neighborhood around there is quite a bit newer, you know, at least 20, 25 years newer. So a lot of the comps outside the neighborhood aren't that good of comps because we're going into a different neighborhood. Once we get across the street, you know, the comps are quite a bit different. So the square footage might be the same, but you're going to see higher rental comps just because the neighborhood's quite a bit newer and the school district is a little bit different on that side. So I'm focusing on your neighborhood, and I actually found that on the inside of your neighborhood, there was actually only one comp, and it was a rental comp that I found. It was $1,680. So as a real estate rental investor, I like to be in my properties after I'm done with everything about 1% per month. So that would put me in that property, you know, at a max of $168,000. That would be my top. But I also want to show you another comp that I found, and this particular comp was actually a house right down the street from you. You're actually probably familiar with it. It's 2 or 3 doors down. It's actually just for sale. It was a flip house. Now, have you seen the inside of this house yet? And she'll say, and actually she said, no, I haven't seen the inside of it yet. And I'll go, okay, that's cool. So I actually looked at the inside. I'm actually online right now, and the address, you can pull this up as well. And I read her some of the descriptions, and I went over and I showed her, and I told her, you know, that the inside of this property has been HGTV'd 100%. They moved walls, they've done floors, every inch, including the ceilings, the appliances, the backsplash, everything has been touched on this property. So in order to get that, and that was an extensive rehab. I was telling her this on the phone. This was an extensive rehab. This one ran about $30 a square foot. So $30 times about 2,000 square feet, it could be $60,000 in rehab to make it worth what your neighbor's house is worth. Now, that might not include the AC that you need to have replaced as well, and also the foundation work, which could be quite expensive because this is a slab, and foundation work can be a little bit risky once you get them done because other things can happen as well. Have you ever had a house that needed foundation work? And she'll say yes or no. In this case, she was like, no, I haven't had much, you know, foundation work. You know, I don't have much experience with the foundation work. I was like, okay, so when you move a house, especially to this degree, because she knows about the dip in the front, when you move a house, especially to this degree, you have to worry about things like cracked walls when you raise the house, cracked walls, windows possibly breaking, buckling roofs. That does actually happen. It actually happened on one of our properties. And then plumbing bust. And I told her, I said, and if the plumbing bust, you and I know how much that could possibly be. We're going to have to jack into the foundation. We're going to have to call a professional plumber out here to go down, tunnel, fix the problem. And then in that case, what they're going to do is all they're going to do is they're going to fill a hole with concrete, reasonably smooth it out, and then they're going to walk out the property. In that case, I have to actually get a floor guy there to actually re-level the property and lay new wood or floor or carpet or whatever you're going to lay down on top of that. So it's not just the foundation people, it could also be the plumber, and then it could also be my floor guy to come back through and do extensive releveling as well. Do you have any other known issues on that property besides this as well? And for example, I'm talking a little bit more on the camera just so you guys can listen to more of the conversation. It was a little bit longer in this, but I am letting her talk in between some of these sentences. I'm just kind of going through it right now so you guys understand how a conversation really goes. Do you have any other known issues on that property that you know of besides the foundation? She said, no, we got the roof replaced the other year, about 6 years ago when the hail was done. I helped her with the paint as well. And I said, okay. What about the water heater? When was the water heater replaced? Oh, well, the water heater was replaced when the hailstorm, that bad hailstorm that we had, it was about 6 years ago, okay? So I said, oh, okay, 6 years ago. And I know that a 6-year-old water heater probably isn't going to give me problems, and I'm probably not going to replace it as long as it works right now. Okay, that's great. Now, the house, we haven't actually talked about the house itself. The mortgage on the house, is it currently paid off? Is it paid in full? And in this case, she said, yes, sir, the house is actually paid in full. It was actually inherited to me, and I'm kind of figuring out what I want to do with it. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so this is what I came up with. So assuming, the house sells for $250,000 down the street, the seller is actually going to walk away with 6% less than that because that's the sale commission fee. So that's $235,000 the seller would walk with. Now, that house got extensive renovations of at least $30 a square foot, which is minus $60,000 from where your house is currently at as far as the condition goes. Now, that may or may not have included the AC, which is another $6,000, and it most likely did not include the foundation, which was $20,000, or could be $20,000 to repair. And then I always budget a little bit of miscellaneous because we all know that when it comes down to it, when you're renovating houses, you can never ever get out without having some miscellaneous. Me, for this particular house in this area, I'm semi-familiar with this area, by the way, I budgeted $5,000 for miscellaneous because you'll probably end up using it somewhere. So with that said, I also pay all of the closing costs. So the number I'm about to give you is actually the highest I can go. I know there's a lot of investors that'll start low and then they want you to kind of work their way up and they meet you in the middle somewhere. And I literally come out with the best I can do right off the bat so I can be the most value to you that I can possibly be. So with that being said, I pay all the closing costs and you are going to walk with $130,000 cash. What are your thoughts on that? And at this point, our conversation's getting wrapped up at this point. I basically mimicked the entire conversation that I just got off the phone with before I got on camera. And I was waiting for a reaction because sometimes when you tell them, yeah, I'll offer you $130,000, they reply with, what? That's crazy. I think I can get for the house, right? Other times they have no idea what the house is worth. Other times they're elated and they want to close the deal immediately. When can we do it? That sounds great. In this case, she was kind of in the middle. She's like, I don't know what the house is worth. I'll have to run it by my husband, which I did talk to the husband. We created some pretty good rapport, I think. So I think he has positive things to think about me already. So he knows about me and he kind of already likes me already. So I think if he's willing to work with me or work with anybody in that price range, it'll be me is really kind of what I was getting at. So I think this deal might actually go through, being that the houses need repairs. You cannot get a real estate agent just to put this on the market because banks will not finance this property because of the repairs needed. And I already asked the sellers, they don't want to put money into this property. So they need a cash buyer, and I happen to be standing in their living room buying their PlayStation. It worked out pretty good, but The point of this video is also you always need to be ready to pull the trigger on any deal at any given moment. And as long as you know your comps and know your area, you can make a offer or at least tell the sellers you're interested in the property on the spot because you know the school district, you know the comps for the most part, you know what the rental values in the area are, you know what the sale comps are because you know that area. And when you start to learn an area, you start to become a better investor. And when you become a better investor, you are on the path to financial freedom. Guys, my name is William Dauria. If you have any questions on this video, let me know in the comments below. Smash that like button if you made it all the way through, and I will see you on the next one.